My boyfriend said no to marriage and refused to commit, joking we don't need a piece of paper to prove our love. What he didn't see coming. I did the unthinkable. I would be lying if I say my instinct didn't warn me of the person I met 5 years ago in a mutual friend's party. My name is Hannah Lewis, I'm 32 years old, and I work as a financial analyst. The man I met that night was Ryan Carter, 35, who at the time was working as a project manager at a marketing firm. The initial hangout, his easy laugh, spontaneous plans, and carefree attitude seemed exciting at first. He was the kind of man who lived entirely in the moment, never worrying about tomorrow, never making promises he couldn't keep because he avoided making any at all. I mistook his lack of seriousness for a free spirit, thinking it meant he was adventurous and fun. Since the day we moved in together, I've been questioning myself. I've been living with this constant doubt about the man I thought I could build a life with, the man I believe shared my vision for the future. We both talked about getting a house and he said he wanted one too. For me it was about building stability, a future we could rely on. But now I can't help wondering if we were ever truly on the same page. Finally, one careless grin from him made my 5 years of doubt crystal clear. We were at his cousin's gender reveal party when the cousin's father-in-law, with a warm smile, asked when we planned to start a family and how long they'd have to wait to celebrate our big day. Without missing a beat, he smirked, leaned back in his chair and chuckled. Freedom is a lot sweeter than tying yourself down. The laughter in the room carried on, but for me it was as if everything went silent, because in that moment, I knew exactly where I stood in his life. Everyone, from his parents to his relatives, burst into laughter, as if his words were the punchline to a harmless joke. I sat there quietly, not making a scene, but inside something shifted. It felt like a weight I had been carrying for years, a burden pressing on my chest with every step, was finally sliding off my shoulders. I realized I had been walking through life with this heavy load of doubt, fear, and false hope. And in that moment I silently vowed to take the action I had been avoiding all along, the very decision that had been holding me back from reclaiming my life. When we came back home, I acted as if everything was perfectly fine. As usual, we had dinner together, and to him nothing seemed out of place. Between bites he grinned and said, "Babe, did you see how everyone enjoyed my humor?" I smiled, nodded, and told him to keep it up. Who knows, maybe one day he might land himself a career in stand-up comedy. Inside, I felt no need to confront him or explain my silence. After 5 long years, I didn't need validation, reassurance, or another empty promise. I already knew the truth, and that was enough. The next day, when Ryan left for work, I quietly packed all my belongings, called in the movers, and went to my friend Jessica's place until I could find a new apartment. Jessica had been warning me since the very day I told her I planned to move in with him. When I arrived, she didn't lecture me or say, "I told you so." She simply opened the door, pulled me into a long hug, and handed me a warm cup of coffee. And the funny, almost pathetic part? A few hours later my phone buzzed with a text from him. "Don't forget to pay the bills this month." He had no idea that by then I was already gone. Yes, every single bill. The rent, the water, the electricity, the Wi-Fi, the groceries, even the smallest pantry expenses. I was the one covering it all. Let me take you back to the beginning so you understand why. When we first moved in together, Ryan was caught in a legal battle with his former boss at the marketing firm. According to him, it all started when he stood up for himself, after being wrongfully accused of leaking confidential client information. But the truth was more complicated. During a high-stakes project, a costly mistake was traced back to his oversight. A missed deadline that lost the company a major contract worth thousands. His boss claimed the mistake wasn't just negligence but a breach of contract, holding him personally liable for damages. Instead of settling things quietly, he refused to admit fault, dragging the issue into court. In the end, the case didn't go his way, and he was ordered to compensate his boss for part of the losses. That's when I, being the understanding and supportive partner, took on the role of the provider, shouldering the household finances so he could focus on getting back on his feet. I thought I was investing in our future. I didn't realize I was just funding his freedom, while he made it clear he never planned to share one with me. My phone never seemed to stop buzzing, the screen lighting up over and over again. I didn't pick up, not once. Then, a message flashed across the screen. "Babe, what happened? Where are all our things? And where are you? Babe, pick up my calls." I just stared at it for a moment before turning the phone face down on the table. For 5 years I had been available at every moment, answering every call, fixing every problem. This time he could sit with the silence. Finally, after hours of ignoring his calls and messages, I typed out a single reply. Don't worry about where I am, worry about how you'll survive without my wallet. No explanation, no pleading, no justifying, just a simple truth he could no longer dodge. I hit send, placed my phone face down, and felt an unfamiliar lightness, as if I had finally set down a burden I'd been carrying for far too long. The next morning while I was at the bank, his mother Margaret called with that sweet, sugar-coated tone she uses when she's trying to manipulate a situation. She sounded concerned, asking softly why I had done what I did. I kept my voice calm and told her there was nothing to explain. She should ask her son. She tried to coax me into bringing all my things back, but I cut her off, saying I was busy at the moment, and ended the call without another word. I closed all our joint accounts, as I am the main account owner, and opened a new account solely in my name. I stopped all automatic payments from my account that covered his bills and his individual insurance premiums, and I removed his name from my insurance policies entirely. By the time I walked out of the bank, my phone was already ringing non-stop. His calls went from pleading to shouting, and finally to cursing me. Let me tell you, this reaction didn't surprise me. Every time I had brought up starting a family or taking our relationship to the next level, his reply was always the same. We don't need a piece of paper or a certificate to prove we're in love. It sounded romantic at first, but over the years I realized it was just his way of avoiding commitment altogether. Meanwhile, all my friends were married and building families, while I was stuck waiting for a man who never intended to move forward. He called and demanded that I bring back the stuff. I told him, calmly and without hesitation, that everything belonged to me. That's when his voice exploded through the phone, shouting, cursing, and threatening to have me arrested for theft and betrayal. He threw every insult he could think of, hoping something would make me break. But I'd spent 5 years swallowing my feelings. I wasn't about to choke on them now. Minutes later, his mother Margaret called again. Her voice dripped with that familiar mix of fake concern and cold accusation. She said I had betrayed her son, that I should be ashamed of my actions, and that no decent woman would walk away after everything he's been through. Then she launched into a lecture about loyalty, family, and how relationships are about sacrifice. I let her speak, every word confirming that she'd never seen her son for who he truly was, or maybe she had, and she simply chose to protect him from the consequences of his own choices. Either way, I wasn't playing the role of his savior anymore. I helped him willingly, believing this is what partners are supposed to do, stand by each other when times get tough. When he was tangled up in his legal mess, I took on every responsibility without complaint. I paid the bills, managed the household, and kept things afloat, telling myself it was only temporary. I waited through every party, every weekend outing, hoping that once things settled, we could finally move ahead with our lives. But instead of moving forward, I realized I was the only one doing the walking, while he stayed exactly where he'd always been. And whenever his friends or office colleagues asked questions about our relationship, whether at a house party or a casual get-together, he would snap. A simple, harmless inquiry like, "So when's the big day?" Or "Are you two planning on having kids?" would instantly sour his mood. His tone would turn sharp, his answers short, and later, he'd take out that irritation on me, as if I were the one who dared to bring it up. It was easier for him to lash out than to face the truth. He had no intention of giving me the future I was waiting for. The next morning, his mother Margaret and his father Daniel showed up at Jessica's house, hoping to talk and settle things between us. I told them there was no need, because their son was not capable of settling his own life. I said plainly that he would be better off being free. Daniel then demanded that I return the furniture and other household items, insisting that he had also purchased half of them and that half should be returned. I calmly reminded them that their son was knee-deep in a legal battle because of his own behavior and had no steady income, so how exactly was he supposed to have bought anything? I told them I had purchased every single piece myself and could prove it. That's when Daniel accused me of stealing and warned that they would fight me legally. What they didn't know was that I had already prepared every piece of proof, receipts, bank statements, and documentation, ready to shut down any claim they tried to make. They had no choice but to give in and eventually stormed out, slamming the door behind them. Later, I heard that Ryan was now living in his parents' basement, surviving off their social security while still working just enough to keep up appearances. So, to all the girls out there, trust your instincts. If something feels off, it usually is. Don't waste years waiting for someone to become the partner you deserve when they've shown you, time and time again, they never will. I was finally able to purchase a new apartment now that I no longer carry the burden, or burn away my earnings, supporting someone else's life. I've moved in and settled comfortably, and from my window, I enjoy the most breathtaking view. It's peaceful and relaxing. Like a breath I've been holding for years has finally been released. There's no more waiting for someone to validate a love they never truly wanted to be part of. I'm traveling again with several vacation spots already pre-booked, and it feels liberating to finally live life on my own terms. For so long, I carried the weight of another person's responsibilities on my shoulders. Now that burden is gone, and in its place is a freedom I never knew could feel this good. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.